Um, so anyway, back to what I was saying. Skip a lot of that stuff, but basically looking at part four of the text, or yeah, part four of the text on essentials of design and talking about how we can control human behavior, how we can control output and design output and design input. What's the primary goal of a system for people that have had me in other classes? What's one of the primary goals of a system?
To make things work better.
Okay, to make things work better. That's a start. What else? Think about ERP. If you've had me for ERP, what are some of the things that we're looking for? What does technology, what's the purpose of technology in the workplace? It makes it work better, but how? I think I made you guys at some point. Um, okay, so consolidate. Uh, what else? Automation. You're just doing that. Create value. Um, Efficiency, right? Improve communication. Accuracy, improve accuracy. And consistency, right? And that is what we're doing in our data storage, correct? Um, but when we create an application, it's different than when we create the database. When we create a form on the web, it's different than how we create a database. And when you talk about database, it's important to recognize that the way we store data, the way we collect data, and the way we report data are all different. Okay. And I say that because if you try to create a database by the way it looks on a form, it doesn't work real well. Your form has to follow the structure of the database to some extent. Um, Let me share my screen. I'll share this one over here. Okay. Everyone see my screen? All right. Good. This is good news, man. Technology is my friend for this moment. Okay, so when they talk about defining output and designing effective input, I'm going to start with the input. Okay, we already designed a relational database, right? We did ERD diagrams, did we not? To show how tables are related, how entities are related. Because that's one of the things that, okay, so we did those in this class, or are you just saying in general? Brennan, do you mean this class or just in general? Okay,
Well, I mean, we just did one for the part two of our project, so I'm
okay,
assuming
I,
we went over at one point.
okay. Well, I'm just making sure here. I don't want to go over something that's gonna like people are gonna be like, what? When did we go over that? So you created a relational database, and I don't think I alluded to it very well when I was going over it, but if you took programming with me, one of the things that we talk about is how you control input, right? And what is the purpose of controlling input? Can anyone tell me what the purpose of controlling input is? That's not the one I want. We didn't do it, but we watched you. Oh, okay. Um, what's the purpose of controlling input? Think about the things that we talked about so far already today. What's the purpose of controlling? How about consistency and accuracy? Does that sound good? Yep. Okay. Um, if I can make it so my employees have to type less, I can lessen the chance for error, correct? So when I want a team, for instance, if I pull up team, I can see a sport ID here. So I know that that's sport one. If I go into my sport table, I can see there's different sports, right? But what if instead of having it set up where it was a one, where somebody had to type it in, what if I actually did it like this? On team, for sport ID, I'm going to change my view. And for sport ID, I'm going to actually change that to a lookup wizard. It's part of a relationship, so I gotta go to relationships first. And I may have, no, I didn't already set it up that way. Well, let's do this. We're gonna totally get rid of those and we're gonna control it this way. If I go to a lookup wizard and I can look it up from another table or query, if I'm looking up sport ID, I should be able to look it up in sport, right? And hit next. And what do I want to look it up by? I want to do sport name, but I also want it to have a sport ID in it. Okay. So I hit next. And what sort order do you want? Let's go by sport name. That way we can alphabetize it, right? Because if you go by the number, it's not necessarily alphabetized. So next. Now you can see exactly how this list is going to look. Now, do I need sport ID in there? Probably not. Let's get rid of it. Let's take sport ID out of it. So next, next, next. Don't allow multiple values. Finish. Yes, save. Now, what happens when I go to team? I go to sport ID. Okay, so I'm controlling how people put stuff in there. They're no longer typing a value in. They're selecting the sport ID for that team. Follow me? So for player, if I was to close this and I was to go to player, for team ID, instead of doing team ID and selecting that, I can control how someone does it, right? So I can go ahead and change my view and say instead of this, I want to do a lookup wizard, and I want to get it from another table, and I want to get it from the team table, and I want it by team name. And maybe I could show city or something like that. I don't know. I'll just leave it as this for right now. And then I'm going to do it by team name. Next. Let's finish. Okay. Close that. Now, if I go into player, I can select the team that they're on. Now, what's interesting is the way that I did this, it creates a one-to-many relationship still. You know, you have to select Northwood, but you're not typing, well, Northwood is wrong, right? So if I was to actually go into my team, my team. Yeah, I want to go to my team, and I want to fix Northwood. And here's the advantage to doing this stuff is that immediately if I go into player, I should be able to refresh all. Why did it not fix it? Huh, I have to select it. It shouldn't have allowed it to be wrong. Well, it would because it's a foreign key. It's not a required thing. So anyway, I'm making it so people have less error. If I only have two teams in there, then what you're telling me is that two T's? Yeah. And, you know, and the same thing goes for like states. We only have 50 of them, right? I could put all 50 states in a list. So instead of having it where someone's typing the value in, I could literally go out here, choose a state, go ahead and go to, what am I looking for? lookup wizard, type in the list that I want, next. And just like Excel, if I go out here, list of state abbreviations, boom. I should be able to actually, let's open this. I should be able to just take, and it's not going to let me do it that way, but I do have a way to do it, believe it or not, because I can get all of them just like this. And by the way, you can pull this right out of their website if you know how to program well. But I can then take it to Excel, because I don't want to sit here and type them all in, do you? You guys want to just sit there and watch me type them in? SMH, wrong state. What do you mean wrong state? Explain yourself. Okay, so now I can take these values, Control C, and I should be able to go out here to access and Control V. Okay, didn't want to do it for me. Well, in that case, can I? No, I have to put it in differently. Well, I could do this then. There's different ways of going about doing things, so why don't we create a new table for states? There's a state ID. And we're going to make that text. Now I'm going to go to home, change my view. Yes. I'm going to see if it allows me to paste it in here. No. Sort of did, but didn't. So here's what I'm going to do. This is a lot more work than it has to be, though, just so you guys know. I'm going to file save as. This is a way that you could get something like this done, and once you do it once, you're set, right? Okay, got it. That's fine. I should be able to close this. I should be able to now go here. External data, Excel. Go and find states. That's good. Export data with formatting and layout. I don't want to export. I want to import. So. New data source from file, Excel. There we go. I want to browse. Where did I put that just recently? Is that right in here? Not there. Where did I save that? Someone tell me. Can anyone tell me? Someone said, it's in documents? I was just looking in documents though. Is it a different way in documents? It's probably up here in this documents. The exact same docs. OneDrive? There we go. Ended up in OneDrive. So you hit OK, import data into a table, that's fine and dandy. First row contains some data that can't be used. Okay, that's fine. And then I'm selecting what column and et cetera and et cetera. And I don't want that one necessarily. All I really want is this one. Index, no, I don't really care about that. So next. Let access determine primary key. That's fine. I don't really care about that. Well, I can. I want that to be my primary key. Then say next, and then import to sheet. I don't know. This sounds good. Finish. Faces up. I'm importing a spreadsheet. So why is it not letting me? Oh. Do I have to have that closed first? No. Finish. Hmm. That should not be doing that. Let's just call it states 1. Finish. Yeah. Okay, so I got states 1. I'm just going to hit cancel, close. And if I go into states 1, it populates the whole table. Okay? So now from that point forward, I can actually look for it in there. I don't have to use this one. No. Yeah, that's whatever. So I'm going to go back to player, and for state, we're going to do look up wizard from a table. That's fine. I want to look it up from states 1. This column, just because I know it's that column, I want to sort it by that column. Say next. That's what it's going to look like. Next. Enable data integrity. You can do that if you want to. All that does is make sure that because it's a primary key, it has to exist. You can't have an empty record. So I'm not going to do it in this case. We'll just leave it be. Say yes. So now from that point forward, I go back into my other view, and for state, I can select what state they're from. I am controlling exactly what people can do, because right now, if I put them like 3 numbers in there, for some reason it's going to allow it, but it won't allow it in the other table. So why did it just let that happen? That's not supposed to happen. Did I set it wrong? I might have to say that it has to. Oh, yeah, I did set it wrong. Required, yes, 0 length, indexed, Unicode compression, IME. I missed a button, because there's a button where you actually say that it has to already exist. We are allowing 0 length required. Validation, text validation rule, default value. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I should have already set that. Oh, wait. Can I do it here? Anyway, I don't know why I don't know why that's happening. That shouldn't have allowed that. But nonetheless, you're giving options. You can lock it down. I just don't. It's been a while since I've done it in Access. I do it in SQL all the time, and I do it through programming all the time. But you can lock it down so it has to exist in the list. You can't type anything else in. A way of showing that is that you can, even in Excel, for instance, if I go in here and I go to states, in Excel, this sheet, if I add another sheet and I do a data validation, I'm looking for data validation. That's why I can't see it. Data validation. We want a list. The source for that list is going to be sheet 1, these values. And this is what it'll definitely give you an idea what this is. So I can only select. So if I type anything in here and I hit enter, it gives me an error. I'm controlling the way people input data. That increases my accuracy and my consistency of my data. Um, you don't necessarily see that when you're selecting a piece of technology. You don't see how that's helping or how that's happening, but realize that it is happening. That's one of the reasons I always say, hey, you really need to have you you need to have meetings, you need to have interviews, you need to follow people that do the job and ask them, what would be nice if it was automated? What would you prefer? And then I think we said that, looking at documents and assessing documents that were created in that and tracking down, well, Susan is out there and she keeps getting all these errors. Well, what are these errors associated with? She's having problems with all of her sales. Well, what are they associated with? Is it that she's spelling check with CHEQUE from Canada, or is it something more serious than that, right? So you understand where I'm coming from with this? We go back and look at the chapter and or the section, and designing effective output is one thing, but when you're looking at designing effective input, how are we allowing people to enter data? This access database, for instance, if I was to create a form for team, it's going to look like that. So I'm controlling how somebody inputs the data. I can control how it looks. If I want to, I can break this apart and do different things with it. If I change the size of this, it's changing all of them. I don't necessarily care for that. I would have actually chosen a different type of form. So, just the look of the form can make a difference. If I go to, I think arrange it lets me, you can take them out of the stack. See, and then you can move them wherever you want. So you can make a form more friendly for the user. So you sit down and you say, okay, well, let me watch your current process, the way you do things, and let's try to keep in line with the way you currently do things if we can. And let's change the things that we need to change, that we don't have a choice we have to change. And then let's see if we can change some things to actually improve your life, as an employee. What would you like to see automated? What order would you like to see these fields in? Because it doesn't matter if you put team here and city up here, that's not going to matter. If you put Michigan way over here, that's not going to matter. At the end of the day, the data is stored the same, right? How we input data is different than how we store data, and that's even different than how we report data. Follow me? If I'm talking in circles or driving you nuts, please tell me, and do so now. Garrett, don't tell me anything. Okay, Garrett, tell me something. Let me know everyone's alive out there. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, but do you guys get an idea what I'm talking about? It comes in because when we look at um, this next week's folder, week 12, we're looking at how the database is put together and the specifications and stuff like that. Well, one of the things that data specifications has is that, is it an auto-populated field? Is it something that they're selecting from? And let me see if I could pull up the form. Was that in the other week that I was just in? Week 9, week 8, week 9. User data dictionary forms. Let me see what this is. I want to see if it's in here. Yeah. So am I storing it manually? Blah, blah, blah. Just looking because one of these should have had. I don't see it. Some of these actually give you an option where you specifically identify where it's coming from. So you can say that it's coming from another application. You can say that it's coming from another table or being populated from another table, et cetera, et cetera. And that would be, let me look and see if I can find something because I know I'm not crazy, so I have to prove it now. Let's do template. So you go out here to kind of find one that actually has it. That's the, as you can see, there are many different ways that people do these. You can do a search and find one that you prefer. You don't have to use the ones I give to you. Man, I don't see it there either. Specification form template. See if that pulls up different things. Huh. And I know I've seen it before, but I don't see. I should have found one of these earlier because I don't see it. I used to have them that I provided to you guys because they were seriously just check boxes for everything, which was awesome because you didn't have to specify where it was coming from, just that it was coming from another location. I'll recognize it if I see it, but anyway, recognizing that you can do this stuff in that fashion. Is it this one? No, you don't want that. Oh, that's for welding procedure specifications? No, that's not what I'm looking for. Database specification form. Aha, here we go. See, I told you I'd find it. This is the one I was looking for. Let's see if this is the actual one I wanted. Well supported values entered by, see, values entered by user or by system. Okay, you already have it in the system and they're just selecting the value. And that's where I would select that if I was using this template. Now the problem is I don't think I have this template in a Word format, but I can save that and put that out there for you guys. I'm gonna put that in my documents and save. I'll put that out there for you real quick because that one's actually pretty useful, a little one. I don't know why I lost that at any given point. So let's weekly folders, this out of my way. Week 12, let's add that in here because it, like I said, it's a little more friendly as far as how you explain your data. See how that looks. Okay. It's a little more friendly on how you show the data. You don't have a lot of writing to do. All you literally do is, and you can duplicate this rather easily, or you can just create the fields in an Excel sheet and do it that way. Um, but what's the name of the field? State. You know, specification type. Is it unique, generic, or is it replica? I'd just say that it's definitely unique. And I should say it depends on what table you're seeing it in. If you saw state in the team table, it's a replica from the other table. But if it's the state in the state table, now it's unique, right? That's the only thing that we had in there for it. Parent table, if this was a replica, so let's say this is state, but it's in the team's table. So the parent table is state. It's a replica. The label for it's going to be state. Source specification, well, that we would say getting from the state table, shared by, and what are all the tables that actually share that data? Do you have it abbreviated or in any other format? So is one of them going to be ST for state and another one going to be SCATE for state? Are you going to have city, or not city state, team state versus employee state versus, you see what I'm saying? So that's what that's recognizing. And then a description, right? So then all you have to do is decide, okay, well, what's the data type? Well, it's text. How many characters? Well, 2. How many decimal places? 0, obviously. Input mask? No, there's no input mask. It's already determined, right? We're not typing it in. Display format, 2 letters, right? Uppercase letters. Character support, we're only handling letters A through Z. We're not doing any numbers or anything, right? So you get an idea how this form's a lot easier to use. I should look in the camera when I say that. Do you get any idea what I mean by this? What's more annoying, when someone just looks at the camera the whole time and talks, or when they're looking everywhere and talking? I have to figure out what the proper business etiquette is for sitting in front of a camera all the time. You guys are at least talking a bunch today. Do you want to talk about anything fun? Wow, what? NFT. What's NFT? I'm not looking it up. NFTs make no sense. Okay, so something. Oh, good Lord. If I click on this and I get a virus, I'm going to fail you. So you know. Thanks, cybersecurity people. What is this? That's not what I'm looking for. What are you talking about? Oh, so it's not going to be my face up there, basically. Is that what you're saying? Oh. Oh, you want to talk about NFTs because you don't want to talk about what I'm talking about. Why can't you just say that out loud? Why is everyone chatting? Give me some voice. Brennan, you talk every now and then. Give me some words so I feel normal.
Yeah, sure. What do you want to hear? Well, the
Oh,
whole
that was good.
NFT thing is funky.
What is the NFT? I have no clue.
So from my understanding is you buy like digital art and it has some sort of value. I don't know how this value is determined or how exactly it works, but it's kind of like it seems a little bit like cryptocurrency, but honestly, I have no clue.
Well, at least you're getting art, where cryptocurrency, once it's gone, it's gone. At least here you get a piece of art. But you have to buy it with cryptocurrency. People would pay for this?
Essentially, yes.
Why? It's a degenerative art piece, if you ask me. Yeah, look up USD to F. Some are expensive. LOL. Yeah, I I mean, this is something I created in grad school for a graphic design workshop where you just had to create pixelated buttons for apps.
So Garrett, they like increase in value over time and you can sell them or
At least this is art. This is just bitmap. Make you one so you can sell it? You want me to make you a bitmap of what? Just a Sanford original? I might have to take you up on that just to see if it goes anywhere. I mean, that's Tom the cat and Jerry the mouse. Now that's kind of cool. I
I don't like how wide they are.
I don't know how 164. How much is 164? Someone tell me. Which one's Dr. Phil? Oh, I can click on that and it tells me? Oh my God. Really? No.
I was not expecting that. Oh my God.
Oh. No, no, no. That's the thing is I could print screen it right now. No, I don't have COVID. I have allergies. Bad right now. Um, yeah, that's wow. No. Metadata, sir. Proof of ownership. Yeah, well, he doesn't own the character. Did he pay royalties for that to be selling it? Hmm. Technically, he does. You have to alter it to the point where it's almost not recognizable, though. And I recognized it right away. So that's a scary thought. Anyway, well, that was a nice little segue back to class. Thank you. At least we talked about something that some of you thought were fun. Anyone else want to throw something out there just for a brief second? Now that I have to go out and get some IQ points back after that one. I'm gonna hide my wallet from you guys. Nothing? No? Okay. So anyway, um, we can control exactly how people see data, what they see, the direction that it's written. Um, when you go into graphic design and you start looking at how applications are, you get down to the nitty gritty. You get all the way down to, what contrast are we using and stuff. Are we using yellow text on a black background, which, by the way, is the most easily read there is, but it's also not the best looking, though, right? It's the highest contrast. So, what do you think? Would you want to do a website that was all black with yellow text? They used to have a web page, and I don't know if it exists anymore. Um, they used to have a web page that was webpages.suck.com, and I take it's if it still exists, and yeah, it does still exist. Um, One of the things that they talk about is the actual design of websites and that. Well, think about it if you could do that with web forms. Uh, let's just talk about something like is Etsy an easy place to shop? What's absolutely not? Oh,
I just didn't want to see the contrasting yellow and black websites.
oh yeah, no, 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 I don't want to make you do that either. Etsy's easy. Is it easy to find what you want on Etsy? Let's go out to Etsy. What are you buying on Etsy all the time? Are you just looking for? So, okay, so that's pretty straightforward, right? I asked for steamroller. I got one, two steamrollers, maybe three, but I got a weird roller, a game, some type of little game thing, steam engine. So, I see certain things that, and then you get a bunch of old-fashioned toys and stuff. Uh, you know, it's not bad. A lot of scrolling, you know. People would argue that this is actually a bad website because of the amount of scrolling in itself. So that would be a problem for me. But aside from that, it's not that bad to use. But how do we narrow it down? How do we make it easier? And they do. And here's the thing. This is probably originally based off of some type of like template website, where you have your shopping cart and everything else. Almost, how do you brand yourself different than everyone else when you're using the same site, right? Custom emojis, channel emotes, yes. For me, okay, so we got that. Um, so can we narrow this down? Okay, so sort by what? Lowest price, highest, most recent, throw most recent in there, and I guess that's the way it was already set up. I didn't pay attention when I clicked it. So now you got to be careful because this is a plan. It's not the actual tool. It's not the actual device, right? So this one, someone put it together for you. That one, someone put it together for you. Yes, yeah, I'm using this as an excuse to find a Christmas present for my son. Shameless, right? Absolutely shameless. Um, but the idea is that I'm control. The idea is that you get. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to point out here. It's not always intuitive. Websites aren't always intuitive and they're not always easy to use. If I was to do this and just say relevancy and all this scrolling, constant scrolling, at least they stop after a period of time and send you to a new page. But the more scrolling you have, the worse off you are as far as website design. People, that doesn't look like a steamroller. Tobacco pipe, yeah. These Etsy people, they make a lot of tobacco pipes. They must smoke a lot. So, anyway, no comment, Garrett? Oh, Garrett, he's slacking over there. Um, but the idea is that as you look at the way things work, could Etsy be improved and how could it be improved? What kind of data are they getting from you? When I'm searching, whose data engine are they using? If I actually go to, oh, not that, didn't want that, wanted to go to inspect, see if I can see what they're doing. They're using a query, global enhancements. Just seeing if I can see who they're using. I don't see it. Sometimes you can actually see who they're using for their search engine. They just got search.php. I'm just seeing if they had their like a way to tell who for collecting data and stuff like that. DoubleClick.net. So we got a connection through Facebook. We've got, yeah. Okay, so I think they're basing closer off of Facebook than Google. So anyway, um, you can view the code that they have in their background and stuff and figure things out sometimes. But at the end of the day, you know, what data are they collecting? How are they using it and stuff like that? I can just look at sources. I don't want to look at. I think they changed it. It's just this now. Well, there are sources. There you go. Thank you. They used to have sources or something where you right-clicked and it just had sources. So these are all the different companies. They are using Google Analytics and stuff. So, you know, how are they doing all this? So every time you type something in there, right, they're tied to all these data engines. My point is how do you know, how could we improve this website? How could we improve the experience on here? You know, and another reason I want to look at that is because of the fact that these, if I inspect this, for instance, and I go back to sources, you can even find out who they're using for their uh, shopping cart, because these are just services. Okay. Um, is Etsy just an offshoot of? No, it's not an offshoot of Amazon. No. Okay. If Hot Wheels cars popped up with your search, have keywords be better? Yeah. Uh, thing is yeah, but they got roller and chrome, so they've got steam roller in the headline or in the title of it. So I don't know how you fix that with the search engine. Um, if I said, well, I did say wood steamroller, so it should have, yeah, it should have picked that up. Um, let's try something. Did that get rid of it? Yeah, I think it got rid of it. But then it pulls up other stuff. But it's a process that can be fixed. You know, all of this stuff is a process that can be fixed. And one of the things that we're doing in our project this week is, why did a video game pop up? I don't know. You know, you can never really explain or figure out even why those things are happening. Um, I don't quite get it. Uh, if I could, I would love to talk to them and find out what their search engine's like. But, you know, think about Google. Google, it's really, really hard to get exactly what you want. At least their sales stuff pops up right. But then once you start getting down here, you're getting all of the Etsy stuff. Well, Google's doing a lot better. I didn't think they would. So what you're telling me is they're not paying for the full-blown search engine. That'd be my guess. They're only paying for a certain set of features. Huh. I don't know. That's mind-boggling to me. Why? Because they did, when we looked at sources, they were using Google, right? Well, they use Facebook and Google Analytics and stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. That's strange. Huh. That's extremely strange. Anyway, isn't that a specific marketplace? Um, yeah, but if it's the same search engine, it should still work better than this, because the only thing that you have to do is you're recognizing this website and then you're searching just this website, right? So it's, yeah, I don't know. And the thing is we've learned so much through the years, and we go back to talking about controlling input. Um, Years ago, for me to search for something like this, I put the quotes in there, but if I actually put plus and plus here, that means that it has to find all of them type of thing. So you can be very specific, and you used to have to know all of that. Okay. Uh, you used to have to truly think about how you were searching for things and how you wanted to add certain things together. If I take the quotes out of there, I get different results. And, when you said, yeah, it wasn't so specific, so it just auto-filled. But, you go through and then now you start looking at the other things, and here you go, a bunch of tobacco pipes again, and another one, and there's that toy. Yeah, so this is a search engine you absolutely still want to be very specific on what you're looking for. Okay. Um, but the thing is Google, their search engine's not that way. But in here, you would want to make sure that people understand, you know, hey, to best utilize our website, you know, think old school. Put your hashtags in. Put your pluses in there and your steamroller and quotes and different things like that. Um, or is it something that I could say that I want it to be exactly what I'm looking for this way? Okay. And thing is can't we just change that in our writing? Now all of a sudden I start looking and it's not anything that I was looking for, is it? So it makes a huge difference. I'm saying, well, how is data input? How are we using it? How are we uh, controlling, right? I've got to be able to control the data. Well, obviously, there's issues in search engines still. Um, but that all relates back to what we were talking about in database and the specification forms, recognizing, you know, what each field is, where it's getting it from, what is it able to be and what isn't it able to be. Uh, how are we doing the search engine? So I can actually select that when somebody types in a value in that search engine. So I could actually say, hey, whatever someone types in here, I want to look at it as in this format. Okay. And then I would get something that looked like that. Okay. And the reason it got me that was because, I don't know, it's just blind luck. But if I put the quotes in there that I want to separate the terms and stuff like that, Is that a rule I can make, or is that something I give my users the hints about, right? Ooh, I want this. Why am I doing this to myself? I actually want that. That's cool. I could buy it for myself and say it's for my son. Anyway, not really. I wouldn't do that. But whatever we do, we have to be able to define the way to other people how to do things. Follow me? Because one of our goals is that we're improving accuracy, we're improving consistency, we're improving uh, uh, what was the other word? I got to scroll way up. Consistent, accurate. We're automating things. We're trying to improve efficiency, and there was another word that I used up here and I can't find it. I think Garrett put so many comments out here. I like him. Good guy. It started at the beginning. Consolidating data um, and improving communication. So uh, that's where we were on this stuff, and we started talking about it. And then now we have to sit there and say, okay, well, how does that relate to the project? So let's go back to the project and, provide a storyboard of a complete business process for your company. Okay? Just a storyboard. I'm not asking for uh, um, anything long and drawn out, but pick one process that this is going to complete and say, hey, this is the process and it goes from point A to point B. What is the data that is needed for that business process? Look at this from an owner or an upper management point of view. Be as complete as possible. Create a small ERD diagram for it. Do a sample of a data dictionary, a sample of data specifications forms, and a use case. And when I say sample, remember last week I was talking about it and I was like, hey, I recognize that doing one of these for every field and every table is a little overboard for this class, especially for a project where you guys are determining uh, like what you're doing. Are you just adopting a piece of technology and integrating it into a current process? And if you are, okay, well, what data is that touching and what is the process going to look like and what did it look like, right? So we talked about that. So the goal is that I don't inundate you with tons and tons of these forms, but I want you to get a feel for them and have an understanding of how those things work and what they're used for. Okay? Okay. Glad you all agree. Um, and then I say if you're not creating or using an application for it, but rather just integrating technology into your process, you can still identify data, but I also want a description of how the technology ties into the business. Give some alternatives as well. One example, headset. Is there a specific headset for use at the computer that would be much better than any other headset? And if you use this piece of technology and you were telling everyone that they had to use it, what does it look like? Follow me? How's that go, Savvy? There we go. I don't think that charged. Gotta put this on there so it charges. That makes sense to you all? So anyway, so if I was doing this, and this is one of these Jabra Pro things, and it can connect directly through your regular phone or your network phone, and it also goes into Bluetooth, not Bluetooth, but USB to the computer. And am I able to, for instance, it has three inputs. I can use a computer to make the call, I can use my cell phone, or I can use my desk phone. And if I'm using my desk phone, can it actually pull up? And that would be the question I would ask is, can it automatically connect you through your contact list? Can I make calls like right through uh, Outlook contacts instead of having to dial on a phone? Just search for it, hit with the touch screen, hit the button, and be talking to somebody, right? So the data that you would be connecting to with this would probably be like your contacts in Outlook, or maybe it can handle uh, different platforms, not just Outlook or something, you know. Um, I think that would be something that I would be concerned with hearing and seeing, is that you at least recognize how whatever technology you're choosing for the business, how it ties into the data. Get what I'm saying? If you do, give me an amen. It's just here for the giggles. Amen. Thank you. I think so. Amen. So, Jalen, you say I think so. Can you clarify by that? Because I don't know what you mean by think. Is that a yes or a maybe or? Oh, she gave me an amen. Okay. Um, so the book goes into other detail when you start looking at functional design and everything else. And I want to take you back to that, because if you are creating an application, you know, usability matters. So making forms easy to fill in, you know. When you took programming with me, if you took MIS2150 and we were creating applications in Visual Studio, one of the things that you can control is when you hit the tab key, that it takes you to the next field. So you can type a value in, hit tab, type the next value in, hit tab, type the next value in, hit tab. So controlling those tabs make it easy to fill in. Or so when you type like your first name, you hit enter, it'll automatically take you to the next one of last name, you hit enter. It takes you to the city, or does it? Okay. Or does it take you to zip code first? You fill in your zip code, it puts the state in for you, and maybe even the city. Have any of you been to a website or something that had a form that was like that, where you put your zip code in and it found the city and state for you and filled it in? I know I've done it a lot with the state. I think I've only ever done it once where it filled everything in based off of the zip code. And some of them are actually using GPS location to determine your city and your zip and all that stuff. So that's another thing. But it's ways to make it easier to fill in. And I would one up that by saying the goal is that you make it easier to fill in, but also try to make it idiot proof. Try to get rid of those options for error. You know, you got to remember your database can be absolutely perfectly built, but at the end of the day, you're still a victim to human error. You know, you can't stop it all. It's just like cybersecurity, right? You can protect every piece of hardware on your premises. You can protect your database and everything as far as hardware is concerned. All your internet activity and that, it's all blocked out, right? You've got 100% protection except from the people. It takes one worker to screw it all up, right? So, you know, let's try to keep it intuitive, easy to use, easy to fill in, minimize the potential for error by making fields that they just select, like I was showing you in Access and Excel where they have to select a value that they can't just type a value in. And if they do just type a value in, that it would bounce back at them and say that's not a valid entry. Um, have any of you ever tried to use a fake phone number on a form and it bounces back at you and says, maybe it was for a coupon code or something like that, and it bounces back at you and says, not a valid phone number. How does it know? Follow me? And a lot of times it was, they did a list of all the phone numbers for information, which was for Saginaw was 989-555-1212. So if you typed that in, it would automatically recognize that as, okay, you're just giving me this random phone number that was for information. I understand that. That's not your number. I'm not going to give you a code, etc. So design forms to ensure accurate completion. I think that's what I was just saying. If you're going into a business and you're starting from scratch, now you want to ask your workers, okay, do you prefer last name, first name, or first name, last name? That's one example. Now, if you're going into a business that's been operating, you're going up to the worker and you're saying, okay, this is the way you currently do it. You do last name and then first name. Do you prefer that, or would you like to see first name, last name? See what I'm saying? Something as simple as that can make a big difference in how somebody, how easy it is to fill that in and to complete it. If you take and don't ask somebody, and let's say their current process is first name, then last name, but you made it last name, then first name, odds are you're going to get a lot of mistakes where instead of Brennan Namath being in there properly, it's going to be Namath Brennan. So all of a sudden, Namath would be your first name, Brennan, and not your last name. See how that could create problems? So you got to kind of watch what you're doing when you're doing this, and then keep forms attractive. Make them look good. You don't. How many of you have used SAP with me, or outside of us, or the IBM version, or any other version of ERP software? The only one I know of that's actually set up that looks decent, like is friendly looking, is Microsoft. Yes, you did just write a paper about how bad SAP was. But the thing is it's not real user friendly, and they've been working on it, and it's actually improved a little bit. But if you want something that's more user friendly, to keep your forms attractive in that, the reason people go with someone like Microsoft Dynamics is because, well, it's the environment we're used to. You open Microsoft Dynamics, and it's going to look a lot like this, where you have a ribbon across the top with buttons in that, and you might have some menus and different things, but it's primarily the same look and feel. Okay, so there's that. So aesthetics, the contrast, how it affects your eyes. Having a white background with black text is not the easiest going on your eyes. Just doing a light gray, like looking at my screen right here is a light gray, if not maybe a purplish blue. It's a lot easier on my eyes than this. This is harsh. Okay. But needless to say, something small, right? But it makes a difference. Sorry, I'm yawning. But it makes a big difference. So you got to pay attention to that stuff. Okay. We haven't said anything. We're good there. I'm just making sure that we got everything. Yeah, this is a paper form. Well, let's say this is your paper form. How do I make that in Access? Well, number one, database doesn't have to look like this. You would create a database of this, and you would recognize that your entities, you might have lodging as an entity, you might have meals as an entity, place, city, state, whatever. Or this might literally be all of the field names for your table, and then every record that gets entered is done separately. So if I was entering data and this was a form, um, that up to there would be needed. Now let me do it this way. I will tell you what I would want on my form. My application form would be something more like that, where you have that, and then you would have insert text box. I don't really care what it looks like, and so you would have like a submit button somewhere like down here. By the way, this is a really quick, easy way to mock things up too, because by just doing what I just did, I can actually move this anywhere I want. So if I wanted to, I could have a submit button there or here or whatever. But there's that. You might have an option for adding another line or what have you, but maybe something that simple in an application rather than having a paper form. Having a form like that, but when you hit submit, it creates the expense. And then if there's another one, you would have, instead of date, maybe you're doing date and time. Because if somebody is creating records that are about this, maybe time matters. Follow me? So those are just things that you would want to think about. If this is for a single trip, then all you need is one record, right? So just things to think about as you're going through and looking at how you create forms in that. Having a paper form helps you design an application because, okay, well, how are you inputting this data? Isn't necessary to put all of this in at once. Would it be easier to create this and then, yes, still let them fill in multiple lines? Would it be easier to have let me Control C, Control V. So add another expense to this report, so you typed everything you wanted in. Now, do you have another one? And if you do, it adds another line and you type it in. Then you click submit or what have you, right? If you don't, then it just stays as simple as it can be, right? So that's an example of how you can quickly get an idea and a mock-up of a form, okay? Because remember, one thing that you're going to have to do is like a prototype. This is an easy way to create a prototype of a piece of software or something. Okay, so there's that. Now let's go back to where we was. Next page. This is the same thing. Just looking. Alt tags in applications, and that makes sense. Alt tags such as I'm trying to think of a good example of one on alt, item description, you might have a little I there for information, you hover over it, and it gives an explanation, maybe an example of what you would put there. Make sense? So there's that. This here, you can control how they enter the date, but you can also store how you control that date and store that date. So You can let them enter it in month, day, year, and then you can save it in your system as year, day, month if you want to, or you could do it as a two-digit year if you wanted to, or what have you. You can let them type a two-digit year in, and you save it as a four-digit, and vice versa. Those are things that you end up choosing. Uh, and then at the end of the day, you always want to make sure that you test it and you have multiple people test it and tell you what they like and don't like about the application, whether or not it's attractive and all that stuff. So all this chapter is just basically design, right? I mean, how is this thing going to look? Take this form, for instance. How could you make that look good on an application? Do you have them do all of this on a single screen? I know I hate when they say, okay, enter first name and last name. So you type those in, you hit next, and it takes you to another screen. I would almost rather have it all laid out like this, but not everyone does, right? So just things to think about. You guys have been doing stuff long enough in your life that you should know what works and what doesn't work for you. And you should have enough people in your life that you'd be able to say, okay, well, this is the way I feel about this. What do you think? Just random conversation with your parents or your friend or your brother or sister, significant other. Just say, hey, I was thinking, and I like it when this is happening, but I don't know what you think. Like, what do you think about this ordering at the table? Was that laid out well? I don't know. Good way to end a relationship, but at the same time, you have that ability that you can actually run things past people. And you yourself have enough life experience that you should be able to put yourself in other people's shoes in that and not just look at it, okay, well, I like this interface design. Well, okay, well, how does it fit with other people? Is it handicapped accessible and stuff like that as well, right? This form looks a little too busy to me. This could be laid out quite a bit differently. City and our state and zip way over here. I don't know why you would do that. I think I would actually pull this out a little bit so it didn't go down so much. I mean, break this down a little better because, current balance and stuff, maybe that stuff actually belongs over here. I don't know. Okay. But at the end of the day, you should be able to assess that. You should be able to say, okay, well, this is what I like about this. This is what I don't like about this. What can I do? What would I do differently? How would it look? Etc. Then we talked about drop downs and check boxes. The drop down list I showed you in Excel. Check boxes are always a good way of doing things, but it's just like a yes, no, gender, age is always a number. You could classify them in, age ranges and stuff like that. Think about the different things you might ask on a survey and how it might be beneficial in the type of form you're using, etc. Okay. Um, so different kinds of buttons and stuff like that. Calendar control, almost always best to have a calendar pop up that they select the date. They can type in the estimated date or whatever, but it's always best to actually have them click on a date, and that way it's formatted properly. And then because there's a potential that you could get 10/11 of 2021 and you actually meant 11/10. See what I'm saying? So it's easier on a calendar to select a date. Now this is getting a little different, I'll let you go through the rest of it. But my goal is that I wanted to talk about it because that's going to be our next step after this week is you're going to have to start prototyping and then what is this going to look like? What is this process going to look like? How does the technology you are choosing, what does that look like? How is it, what type of interface is it? Is it graphical user interface? What's it providing? Graphical user interface being something as simple as I don't know if this is going to pick this up or not. That. Okay. And what that does is it allows me to select the device that I'm connected to. So it changed to Bluetooth when I press that. And if I go there, now it's going to the computer. And if I click there, now it's going to the phone. Well, that's a graphical user interface, right? The icons are a little bit better than those Bitmojis that people are selling for, thousands and thousands of dollars. A lot more detail in these. So, those are just things that you might want to think about when you're doing this. So anyway, yeah. And then we talked about designing databases at multiple levels in this class. And then we didn't talk about output, but we'll talk about that next week. Because, what would a report look like, right? Because what it shows on the screen is probably different than what you're going to put out as a report for management and everything else. These are just things that you, like every project that you do, you should be thinking about this stuff. Even output as far as, realize how output bias affects users, et cetera, et cetera. So, just take a look at that when you get a chance, even just these outcomes that they talk about. Make sure that you're paying attention to those. But the display output, the way something looks on the screen when you hit submit, I've had things that I've ordered before, and when you hit submit, you're not quite sure if it actually went through. So you might hit back, or you might hit back or backspace, and it takes you back a page. Well, now did you just place another order, right? So you got to be really careful when somebody submits a sale. You have to make it quite visible that it was actually accepted or not accepted, right? How many of you have had a situation where you purchased something online and weren't quite sure of whether or not the purchase had actually gone through? I'm waiting on this one. I need input. All the time in NFTs. He's so funny. Yeah, so if that's the case, would it have been better if they had different output on the screen after you click submit for your sale or to finalize the purchase? It makes a big difference. And that has to do with output. So yeah, there's all kinds of talk that we can do about output. It's the same kind of thing, what's displaying on the screen. Another thing about output, and I had to consider this a long time ago, but is it the same on a desktop, a tablet, a smartphone, a laptop? Does it look the same on all of those, or does it look like a totally different business? I can't even tell you how often I go to my phone and the apps on the phone don't even resemble the business. And when you download the app, it's so different even that you question whether or not you should actually download the app. Screenshot of what? Oh. I'm looking for a specific app. It's, believe it or not, it's actually the one for my IRA. But when I go out to here, what's really cool, I'm not going to show you it, but on my screen, I will show you this part. I can't remember my login ID, but over here on the edge, I can hit that, it'll pop over, and it will show me a summary, even if I can't log in. I don't know how I feel about that, because somebody could actually get a lot of information about me, like my actual value or net worth at the time, by grabbing my phone and sliding that over. I'm worth approximately $2.98.99. Um, so I am not buying any NFTs. Thanks for the info. I'll be on my way. What info? Anyway, um, but yeah, so you want to have the same feel if possible. The other thing is just, is it as intuitive? Does it translate well? You know, years ago when you created a web page, you didn't have to worry about whether or not or how it might look on your phone. Blackboard, for instance, worst thing in the world on these, if I remember correctly. I don't like using it. From a grading point of view, it's ridiculous. I I can't get to most of your grades through it, um, because of the way that it pulls it up. It literally pulls it up by individual people, and instead of having rows that go across like regular Blackboard does, it would have your name and then a row of grades, and then the next person's name and a row of grades. Well, in the app online, it has your name, then it has a field, then it has another field, and then each grade is down. It doesn't scroll over at all, and it's like, wow, this is a pain in the neck and ridiculous. I can't use it. So it's not usable. Um, so yeah, I mean, these are things that you have to consider, and that's all part of output. Is how does it look? Um, Social media, I don't know what that really has to do so much with it, aside from logoing to make sure that you are being represented on there and that it is you. Um, but as far as social media is concerned, I don't know. The worst, well, I can tell you as far as output, if it's your only web source, if it's your only footprint on the World Wide Web, then you're doing your business a great disservice. It's not a very good site for that. You know, one of the things I would never want to do is what a lot of these restaurants do. I'm trying to think of the name of one that does it. There was a restaurant in Saginaw that did this. Uh, who was it? Was it Hunan's? They use some of them like use Z menu and stuff like that, but some of them they have their like they use Facebook as their marketplace. So when you go out and you look at their Facebook site, they have a picture of their menu, and you can't read it. You can't zoom in and everything else. And that's something like what I'm talking about with output. That's something that I would be concerned with as far as output, because you're giving someone an image, but you got to remember that, yeah, this is an example. Somebody actually has an image of the menu, and yes, so now there's part of a picture of a menu. I have no clue what that is, etc. But some companies are actually using, like restaurants and that are literally using uh, photograph menus and stuff. But you got to remember that what did I just do? Go back. You got to remember that when you do a search for, when you do a search for something like penguins and you want to see images for penguins, there is something about it. Um, why did they do that? Normally they show the file size. They're not showing file size anymore. Uh, they used to show the file size, like the pixels of it and stuff. If I click here, no, that's not it. Backspace. Yes, I'm leaving so soon. Go away. Not you guys. There used to be a button, not a button, it used to show you um, Collections. That's not what I'm looking for either. I am looking for. Well, they used to actually say the file size on them, and my point was that like you might have a 1 megapixel file, and people are trying to open it on their phone. It would pop up around the image in a little gray box. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it would. It would pop up, but it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know why it's not there anymore. Do they not care? Well, my thing is there's such a big difference between like a high def image and a regular, I took a picture with my phone in a dark room of this menu. So you go to blow it up so you can read it and you can't read it. It's like this penguin here, he's kind of really jagged and stuff. That's a pixelated picture that was taken from something small and blown up to fit on a large image. So, the lower the quality of the picture, no, that didn't have it either. Huh, I guess they got rid of that. They used to have that. I wonder if settings, no, settings wouldn't have that. That's my settings. Huh, I don't know. So anyway, um, that's something I would consider output is that image that people are using for your menu. Take the time and energy just to create a menu. It doesn't take much, to create a digital menu online. As a matter of fact, most of these companies these days are using like Wix.com to create their websites. And I can say get started. I can sign in with Google. I don't really care. I don't care. They can do whatever they want to me. Um, but if I was going to create a website, that's fine. I'm just going to say create new site, and I can pick a restaurant. And by the way, this is free, what I'm about to show you. Um, so we've got chat, food order, restaurant menus, create and display that. I want to be able to do that. Do I want to do table reservations? Absolutely. Do I do any bookings, events, blogs, video, forms, subscribers? Maybe I do that. Maybe I do this. Um, and maybe that's about it. Maybe I could do events. Okay. So then I say next. Let Wix ADI create a website for you or create your own website with the editor. Well, if I do this, it'll automatically create it. If I say edit a template, I can do that. Now I can pick any look I want, right? So I'm going to edit this one. And what's cool is it's going to show me exactly what my website looks like. Remember, this is free. Um, think about this as a way to sell yourselves too, senior year, create a website for free that's informational. Yeah, it'll say created in Wix or whatever at the bottom, who cares? You still took the time to create a web page that's well laid out, and you can have all the different things that you need. So click out here. Obviously, there's a menu page and everything else, right? So let's see, how do I get to that? Let's go to menus and pages. Menu. So here. Now you can create a digital copy of your stuff, and you can literally have, like, you can input images and everything else. You can add images and all that good stuff. Okay. So I could add an image of, I don't know, I'm just going to use one of their images. It doesn't really matter. And I could say, okay, well, that is actually what you're eating. Wait, where'd it go? I just deleted it by accident. There we go. Oh, it doesn't want me to put it there. That's fine. It limits me on where I can put it. But at the end of the day, it's not the most difficult thing in the world to create actual menus. So as far as an output for how you would have stuff show, especially in social media and stuff, you know, that makes sense. The other thing about social media is that it's so linear. Facebook being a linear in nature, that when you post your menu right now, depending on how you set up your Facebook, it could just get pushed further and further and further down a list of things, and then you have to post it again. Or you have to have it in your images section, and now all of a sudden, okay, you follow me though, that the output of data, the output of what you're providing your consumers or your employees and stuff like that, it matters, and you have to think about this stuff, especially in design. Okay, um, that's about it for there. Oh no, dashboards for decision makers. I actually know somebody that creates dashboards using the data from SAP. They actually go to businesses that use SAP and they write programs that work together with the database to pull in financials. So CIO or CEO can see exactly where certain metrics of that business are in real time at any given point in the day. Okay. Well, what's going to be on that dashboard? How is it going to look? How easily navigatable is it? And so on. Those are things that you have to be concerned with. Okay? And then we'll get to this later. But just wanted to cover a little more about the text because I think we stopped. Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about some of this stuff yet, but I don't think we're going to make it to that. That's database. You'll learn more of that if you take 3200 or if you take any data analytics courses. A lot of that stuff gets covered in there. I will cover some of that next week because one of the things about in this chapter was designing databases. This should have happened before this happened, just so you know. So you had a better understanding of why you would do the things that they're having you do up there. Okay. Questions? Concerns? Want me to keep talking? I'll talk about anything new and exciting, not NTFs, which by the way is just scary to me. Well, thank you, Garrett. I need friends. I need lots of friends. I want to see this again. This is ridiculous. Number one, it's just one of those template websites. They're terrible. Crazy. Well, I could sell some of these stupid things and make money. I'll bring this over here. So I could literally look up Beeple on here. Oh, on Google? Why? I got to be careful what I'm willing to accept as a search term from you guys. What is it? Oh, is there anything bad in it? So Beeple? I am not responsible for any of his artwork. I'm just pulling this up. What did that just say when I pulled that up? What? That can't be real. Wow. I am not giving him my email. Is this it? Is this the same person? Yeah, I don't know about that either. It doesn't quite look right. Maybe there's a VJ by that name? There we go. Wow. That's just nuts. That is just nuts. I don't get it. This I understand. These are actually really cool. You can actually make images out of images. And there was a guy that years and years and years ago, um, the there was a guy that did the, oh, okay, that's what it was basically what this guy was doing. But what it was it was a website, but it had nothing but links. Everything on it was links, and every time you click somewhere on that, he was making pennies per click. 1 penny to multiple pennies per click because it would take you to a different site. And the guy made $1 million on that rather quickly. He was going to, and I don't know if he ever actually did, but there was, I want to say he attempted to make one that was $1 billion. I don't know if he ever did. And the thing was, is that megapixels on your screen being so small, you could literally have almost every pixel on your screen be a different link, you know. So when you get to that point, it's like, wait, if I can do that, and someone just goes out there and they click on anywhere on an image, you can have it be whatever image you want, but every little pixel on that image is a different link. So people just click on it to randomly see where I'm sending them. And every one of those clicks would generate pennies, you know. And that's where the idea came from way back when. And I don't know if this is about, yeah, this is something totally different. This is a blog. Yeah, so I don't know what that one is, but anyway, um, yeah, I found that interesting. But people brought that back to my mind because of his art that and I put art in quotes because what's one person's art is something totally different to others. Um, was it this class that? No, it was a different class. It's all of his art in a collective piece. It's kind of cool. I would have liked to see him create something artistic with it because you can get pictures made up of pictures. Like this, for instance, where you have Spider-Man, and if you could zoom in and actually see it well enough, each one of these would actually be a picture of someone or something. It gets that detailed. Well, this is actually using people to create that, but some of them are just images that you get off the internet, for instance, for the shade and tone that you want. So that I would think would have been cool if he could have done something like that. It would probably, if he did it again and did that, he could make a lot of money, and that he could do that just by changing the lighting of some of his other